Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you stop seeing yourself as unlucky, ordinary, or forgotten by life, and begin walking through this world as if the universe is secretly working in your favor, reality starts changing in ways that feel almost impossible to explain. The moment you truly understand this, your entire reality begins to shift. Most people move through life believing luck is reserved for a chosen few. They watch others receive opportunities, money, love, recognition, and success, while secretly asking themselves, why does life never work like that for me? But what if the problem was never life itself? What if the world has been responding to the identity you unconsciously accepted every single day? Because the truth is, people who constantly attract miracles are not necessarily smarter, richer, or more talented than everyone else. They simply carry a different inner assumption. They expect doors to open. They expect favor. They expect things to work out for them. And slowly, reality reorganizes itself around that expectation. Your mind is not just observing life. It is broadcasting instructions to it. Every thought repeated with emotion becomes a signal. Every belief held long enough becomes a personal law. If deep down you feel unlucky, rejected, forgotten, or unsupported, life keeps echoing that feeling back to you. But the moment you begin acting as if you are the luckiest person alive in the universe, your energy changes, your decisions change, your reactions change, and eventually your entire world changes. This is not about pretending. It is about embodying a new state so completely that reality has no choice but to mirror it back to you. And if you stay until the end, you may never look at your life the same way again. Subscribe now, and let's begin transforming your reality from the inside out. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change the outside world, without ever realizing that the outside world is only responding to what they repeatedly accept inside themselves. They think their circumstances create their beliefs, when, in reality, their beliefs are quietly creating their circumstances. And this is why two people can walk through the same world and experience completely different realities. One person constantly encounters rejection, delays, struggle, and disappointment, while another seems to move through life with strange favor, unexpected opportunities, and effortless breakthroughs. It is not always because one is more intelligent or more deserving. Often, it is because one unconsciously assumes life supports them, while the other secretly assumes life is against them. Your inner assumptions are not harmless thoughts floating through your mind. They are instructions, silent commands, invisible agreements you make with reality every single day. The beliefs you emotionally accept as true begin shaping the way you perceive the world, the way you react to situations, and the energy you carry into every interaction. If deep down you believe you are unlucky, forgotten, unworthy, or always left behind, life begins organizing itself around those assumptions. You start noticing rejection more than opportunity. Delays affect you more deeply. Small setbacks begin confirming the story you already hold inside. And over time, the outer world becomes a perfect mirror of your inner identity. But the moment you begin assuming something different, reality slowly starts changing its behavior around you. When you start feeling like life is on your side, something shifts. You stop walking into rooms expecting rejection. You stop assuming failure before you even begin. Your mind stops preparing for disappointment and instead starts anticipating favor. You begin carrying yourself differently without even realizing it. Your voice changes. Your posture changes. Your energy changes. And because your inner state changes, your experiences slowly begin changing too. This is why the most powerful transformation does not happen when money appears or when opportunities suddenly arrive. The true transformation happens the moment your self-concept changes, the moment you stop identifying as someone who struggles to receive, the moment you stop emotionally attaching yourself to lack, fear, and limitation. Because reality cannot consistently give you an experience that contradicts the identity you continuously embody. Think about how many people unknowingly repeat negative assumptions every single day. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm always unlucky. Other people get opportunities, not me. Life is hard. They may say these things casually, but the subconscious mind does not recognize jokes, or temporary emotions. It accepts repeated feelings as truth. And once something becomes accepted internally, reality begins reflecting it externally. The world starts behaving in ways that match the emotional atmosphere you repeatedly live in. But imagine waking up every day with a completely different assumption. Imagine carrying the quiet certainty that somehow things always work in your favor, that you are guided, protected, supported, chosen for extraordinary outcomes. Imagine expecting miracles instead of problems, expecting opportunities instead of obstacles. At first, nothing outside may appear different, but internally a shift begins taking place. Your nervous system relaxes. Fear loses its grip. You stop chasing validation from the world because you already feel favored within yourself. And strangely enough, life begins responding. Unexpected conversations happen. Doors open at the perfect moment. You meet the right people without forcing anything. Solutions appear when they are needed most, and what once felt impossible begins unfolding naturally. Not because the universe randomly decided to reward you, but because your inner assumptions changed the way you interacted with reality itself. The dangerous part is that most people never realize they are constantly manifesting from identity rather than desire. They focus on what they want while continuing to feel like the version of themselves who never receives it. They pray for abundance while emotionally identifying with scarcity. They ask for love while secretly believing they are unworthy of it. They desire success while internally expecting failure. And as long as the inner assumption remains unchanged, reality keeps reproducing the same patterns in different forms. This is why acting like the luckiest person alive is not about arrogance or pretending. It is about consciously choosing a new internal reality before the external evidence appears. It is deciding that life supports you even before proof arrives. It is emotionally occupying the state of someone deeply favored by existence itself. Because eventually, your outer world has no choice but to catch up with the identity you consistently sustain within. And once you truly understand this, you begin realizing something even deeper. What people call luck may have never been randomness at all. What most people call luck is often nothing more than alignment hidden beneath the surface. It only appears random because they cannot see the invisible patterns that created it. They see someone receiving opportunities at the perfect time, meeting the right people unexpectedly, escaping situations that should have destroyed them, or constantly attracting success with almost unnatural ease. And from the outside, it looks like coincidence. But coincidence is rarely as accidental as people think. There is a certain inner state that changes the way life responds to a person. Some people move through the world carrying silent expectation. They wake up assuming good things are possible. Even after setbacks, they still believe life can turn in their favor. That assumption affects every part of their behavior. They notice opportunities faster. They take action with less fear. They recover quicker from disappointment. Their energy feels open instead of defensive. And because of that, life continuously presents them with pathways that fearful minds often overlook. Meanwhile, someone else may possess equal talent, equal intelligence, and equal potential, yet constantly experience struggle after struggle. Why? Because internally, they are aligned with disappointment. They expect rejection before speaking. They expect failure before trying. They prepare emotionally for loss before life even responds, and without realizing it, they begin filtering reality through limitation. Opportunities pass by unnoticed because fear trained them to look for danger instead of possibility. The world you experience is deeply influenced by what your consciousness is prepared to receive. This is why two people can hear the exact same news, encounter the same situation, or enter the same room, yet walk away with completely different outcomes. One person sees possibility, while the other sees obstacles. One assumes support, while the other anticipates rejection. And slowly, reality bends according to the expectation held within. People often believe luck belongs to external circumstances, but true alignment begins internally. It begins with emotional agreement. If your inner world constantly argues against abundance, love, success, or favor, you unknowingly block yourself from recognizing the pathways leading toward them. Fear narrows perception. Doubt distorts opportunities. Anxiety weakens action. But expectation expands awareness. Confidence sharpens perception. Trust allows movement. And this is why the people who seem lucky are often simply living in emotional harmony with the outcomes they desire. Notice how different life feels when you genuinely expect something good to happen. Your body relaxes. Your energy softens. You speak with more certainty. You stop forcing every moment because you trust that things are unfolding correctly. That state alone changes the quality of your decisions. Instead of acting from desperation, you act from quiet confidence. And those actions create different results. But most people sabotage themselves because they keep emotionally rehearsing disaster. Before anything even happens, they imagine failure. They replay worst-case scenarios. They feed anxiety until fear becomes more believable than possibility. Then they wonder why life feels heavy and resistant. The mind moves toward what it repeatedly expects. And when fear becomes dominant, the body, behavior, and perception unconsciously align with it. This is why inner alignment matters more than temporary motivation. You can repeat affirmations all day, but if your emotional state remains rooted in lack, the subconscious continues obeying the deeper feeling. Alignment happens when thought, emotion, expectation, and identity begin moving together in the same direction. When you no longer say you trust life while secretly fearing it. When your inner world stops contradicting your desires. There is something powerful about becoming emotionally available for miracles. Not forcing them, not begging for them, simply expecting them with calm certainty. The strange thing is that life often begins changing the moment you stop emotionally chasing outcomes. Because chasing implies separation. It reinforces the feeling that what you desire is still far away from you. But alignment creates a completely different energy. It says what I desire is already moving toward me. Life is already rearranging itself in my favor. And once that state becomes natural, reality starts responding differently. You begin noticing how certain opportunities seem to appear effortlessly. The right idea arrives at the perfect time. A random conversation opens a new door. Delays unexpectedly protect you from wrong paths. What once looked like bad luck suddenly reveals hidden guidance. You realize life was never attacking you as much as it was responding to the emotional atmosphere you carried within yourself. But there is also a warning hidden inside this truth. If your inner state can align you with opportunity, it can also align you with limitation. If expectation can attract breakthroughs, fear can unconsciously attract repeated struggle. And most people never recognize how powerfully their emotional identity shapes the reality they continue experiencing. Because sooner or later, you will discover that the greatest secret is not merely believing something good will happen. It is learning to feel internally as though it already has. Most people spend their lives emotionally waiting for success before they feel confident, waiting for money before they feel secure, waiting for love before they feel worthy, waiting for opportunities before they believe life supports them. And without realizing it, they remain trapped in a state of separation, constantly reinforcing the feeling that everything they desire still exists somewhere outside of them. But the deepest transformation begins the moment you stop waiting emotionally and start living internally as though your desire already belongs to you. This is the secret almost nobody truly understands. Reality does not simply respond to words. It responds to identity. It responds to emotional conviction. And the feeling you repeatedly return to becomes the atmosphere your life eventually reflects back to you. If you constantly feel incomplete, life continues presenting experiences that mirror incompleteness. If you emotionally live in fear, uncertainty, and desperation, reality keeps echoing those states in different forms. But when you begin feeling the emotional reality of already having what you desire, something extraordinary begins happening within you. The chase weakens. Anxiety softens. You stop gripping life so tightly because internally, you no longer feel separated from your desired reality. This is why true manifestation is not about forcing the external world to change. It is about changing the inner experience so deeply that the outer world gradually has no choice but to mirror it. Think about how differently a person behaves once they genuinely feel successful inside themselves. They stop speaking from fear. They stop reacting to every temporary setback as if life is collapsing. Their decisions become calmer. Their energy becomes grounded. Even their presence changes because they are no longer emotionally begging reality to give them permission to feel whole. And that emotional shift is powerful because the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly felt inner experience and an external event. Whatever you repeatedly feel as true begins embedding itself into your identity. That identity then shapes your reactions, your expectations, your behavior, and eventually, your reality itself. This is why simply wanting something is not enough. Desire alone changes nothing if your dominant emotional state still says, I don't have it. Many people unknowingly strengthen absence every day by constantly noticing what is missing. They wake up thinking about how far away success feels. They repeat the story of struggle in conversations. They emotionally rehearse lack so often that scarcity becomes familiar to their nervous system. And life continues reflecting that familiarity back to them. But the moment you begin emotionally entering the state of fulfillment, everything starts shifting internally first. Imagine closing your eyes and genuinely feeling what it would be like if life had already worked out for you, if abundance was already yours, if opportunities were already unfolding, if you were already the version of yourself who feels chosen, favored, secure, and deeply supported by life itself. At first, the mind may resist because it has been trained to worship external evidence. It wants proof before belief. But transformation begins when you stop asking the outer world for permission to feel abundant internally. Because the feeling must come first. The person who constantly experiences miracles is usually not someone who mastered force. It is someone who mastered emotional embodiment. They learned how to dwell mentally in the reality they desired before physical confirmation appeared. And slowly, the outer world rearranged itself around that inner state. This does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending difficulties do not exist. It means refusing to emotionally surrender your identity to temporary circumstances. It means understanding that today's visible reality is often the delayed reflection of yesterday's dominant state of consciousness. And if you persist in a new feeling long enough, reality eventually begins catching up. The dangerous mistake most people make is constantly checking whether their manifestation has appeared yet. That checking itself reveals doubt. It reinforces separation. It says internally, I still don't have it. But when you truly feel something is already yours internally, desperation disappears. You no longer chase every sign because your emotional state already feels complete. And strangely enough, that is often when reality moves fastest. Because life responds more powerfully to conviction than longing. The version of you who already possesses abundance does not wake up consumed by fear every morning. That version moves differently, thinks differently, speaks differently, feels differently. And the more consistently you emotionally occupy that version of yourself, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, your outer world begins conforming to the identity you repeatedly embody within. But this process reveals something even deeper and more dangerous. Because if your emotions can shape your reality so powerfully, then the emotional state you live in every day is quietly determining what you continue attracting into your life. And that means your state of being may be influencing your future far more than you realize. Your reality is shaped far more by your state of being than by your temporary circumstances. Most people believe life changes first and emotions follow afterward. They think they will finally feel peaceful once the money arrives, confident once success appears, grateful once problems disappear, or secure once the future becomes certain. But life rarely works that way. The emotional state you consistently live in becomes the lens through which reality forms around you. A fearful mind does not simply experience fear internally. It begins creating a fearful world externally. When anxiety becomes your dominant state, you start interpreting life through tension and uncertainty. Small problems feel heavier. Delays feel personal. Rejection feels permanent. You become emotionally attached to worst-case scenarios, and without realizing it, your reactions begin producing the exact experiences you hope to avoid. This is why two people facing similar circumstances can experience completely different realities. One person remains grounded, trusting that life is still unfolding in their favor, while the other emotionally collapses under the weight of fear. The difference is not always the situation itself. The difference is the state of consciousness each person occupies while moving through it. Your emotional state is not passive, it is creative. Every day, your feelings silently influence your decisions, your behavior, your perception, and your energy. When you constantly live in stress, frustration,